We are live. Welcome to my video on Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the 8th Mission Impossible movie. We're gonna start with a review that only spoils the first 7, and after that I will get into a thoughts section where I spoil everything about this movie, but I'm gonna verbally warn before I start getting into any spoilers for this one. That covers the spoilers. The movie's rated PG-13, although it definitely pushes that at times. So will this video. And, yeah, I've seen that not everybody loves this. Like, apparently most people seem to. I really tried to find... I can kind of see some of the criticisms. I'm not saying this is, like, perfect or something, but holy crap, these just work. I am one of the people who do not think that they've made a truly bad one so far, although obviously, you know, I'm not gonna pretend like the second one doesn't have its issues. Yeah, I think that does bring us to, yeah, yes, let's get into it. Yes, one more thing. Make sure you watch Film Brain's video on this movie. Excellent job. He's usually great. Even when he makes me feel old by pointing out that, oh, you know, he was 6 when he first watched, and he, you know, I was 10 years old when the first of these came out. Anyway, yeah, moving on. I'm going to try not to restate what he said, and I might try to, you know, get into some of what he did say. So, yeah, there might be parts of this that are going to make less sense if you haven't watched his video. And it's like, I think it's less than 20 minutes, so, you know. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job making sure everyone had something to do. And yeah, I was slightly mixed on the nostalgia, because, like, on the one hand, I'm not made of stone. It works on me. You know, I've loved these movies for over 20 years, and you know, this is a movie franchise I've loved for more than 20 years. Haven't loved this movie for 20 years, but I have loved it north of 20 minutes. And I do think there are times where, because, like, the movie will essentially do flashbacks to earlier movies, but then at other times it's flashbacks to stuff we didn't see in, you know, yeah, stuff that we just didn't see when it happened, but it happened between the 7th and 8th movie. So I think they overdid it slightly. And if you did not watch the first 7 recently, yeah, there's going to be parts where it feels, yeah, it's like, wait, was that recently, or was that, you know, 30 years ago? So that's a thing. And I think that does cover that nicely. Right, let's see if I can give this any kind of structure, at least in the review section itself. Yeah, as far as writing, there definitely are some ideas here that where I do appreciate that they diverge from the 7th movie. Certain things that do work at least slightly better. I think I'm going to try to talk about at least some of them in the spoiler section. And I don't know, maybe I did not find... No, yeah. I was slightly... Another issue where I'm not 100% sure where I land on. Yeah, there's definitely too much exposition in this. It would be difficult to remove very much. I guess, yeah, part of it is that it's building on so many movies, not always equally elegantly, and not everybody's going to remember. The last one was like, I'm not sure it's 2 entire years, but yeah, last one came out in 2023. A lot of people aren't going to remember. I watched that one twice, not twice in theaters, once in theaters and once on DVD, library copy. But yeah, I'll admit, even there were a couple. There's at least one clip, one of the flashback clips, where I'm like, was that in the 7th movie, or did that happen between the two of them? It's just, yeah. Anyway, it's a movie that both wants to make sure you understand because there's a lot of moving pieces here, but it also wants to build a big new thing. It doesn't just want to rely on the stuff that's been set up before. So, yeah, there are times where they will just explain, okay, so this is the situation, these are the potential outcomes, here's why this is bad, here's why this is the goal. And yeah, like, it might not be quite as, like, part of the thing is that the movie is also, like, I mean, I didn't know exactly, but yeah, it's approaching 3 hours, so yeah. I thought they did a good job coming up with different kind of concerns for the different characters so that they are not just, like, standing around. I think that might... Yeah, one more thing on writing. There were times in this where I was not sure how something would actually go, and I mean, I've been watching American action movies since I was 10, I think, and a lot of them, it's kind of like, oh, I know how this is gonna end up, that goes for ones from the 80s, ones today, There were times here where I genuinely was not sure how they were going to resolve something. It's been a thing in all 4 of these Christopher McQuarrie Mission Impossible movies, and it's also some of the other Mission Impossible movies as well. But yeah, it's clear that is something he wants out of these. Let's see. Right, the movie opens with Tom Cruise out of character, thanking the audience for watching it in theaters, which, I mean, there's parts of the movie that are very progressive, so I don't know if that was, like, specifically there to throw the anti-woke YouTube chuds off the scent or what, because they apparently, right, for people who don't suffer from terminally online brain rot, like yours truly, that was a thing that they made a huge deal about for Top Gun. Was it called Maverick? Whatever. The new Top Gun movie. They were like, safe. That wouldn't have happened in a progressive movie. That's why conservatives are winning, because sometimes movie stars will, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Direction. Yeah, Christopher McQuarrie continues to really hit it out with the park with these. I really appreciate how much, and I know this is not only him. It's fairly consistent across them, less so in the second one. But yeah, they really do care about suspense and tension. It's, the action scenes have a lot of that in addition to, like, shooting and punching and such. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there was a time where I didn't think, yeah, I guess after the second movie came out and before the third one did, I thought, oh, I guess they're just gonna be like big, loud action movies now. When, you know, I mean, Brian De Palma, man, holy crap. Yeah. I haven't watched every single movie he's made. Every single one I have, yeah, so much tension and suspense. And he was such a brilliant choice to direct that first movie. Yeah, I thought that the rest of them, you know, I didn't necessarily think John Woo would direct all of the sequels, but I did kind of think, yeah, that's, you know, because tension and suspense, like, it's not always. There's a lot of talented people in Hollywood who want that, absolutely, but there's also so many, you know, executives in offices who have way too much influence on these movies, who think that audiences don't like it, and it's ridiculous. Like, listen, we just don't like it when it's bad, you know, but like if you look at really well done action movies, American action movies that have a lot of tension and suspense, even the ones that ended up not being the most popular, like if you see what people like said they liked, a lot of the time they'll point to the tension and suspense. But yeah, I have seen some. There was one critic, I want to say it was on Rotten Tomatoes, who said like was it more than at least once in this movie they suddenly realized I haven't breathed in a minute, you know, and I'm gripping the armchair of my chair, or whatever, of my seat really, really tightly, you know. And yeah, I have multiple guesses as to what that reviewer might be referring to. I think that covers the direction. So the cinematography, yeah, they do a really solid job of capturing everything. There's not one moment of this entire thing where I was genuinely uncertain as to the geography and where, you know, what everyone is doing. Which segues nicely into the editing. There, I don't want to give away exactly, but I'll just say there is at least one sequence in this real nail biter where they make fantastic use of cross-cutting. And then there's another sequence where this person's getting the Christmas card. They choose not to cross-cut, and it's the exact who came up with who made that decision there. But yeah, I do sincerely hope that whoever it was handed some handsome sum, because that is a pay raise decision right there. Right, I guess I'll just briefly say, yes, unlike the seventh one, this one does have an ending. Yeah, the music really helps with tension and suspense. There's some really strong acting moments in this. Yeah, I don't think I want to give away exactly who, but at least one actor in this. Phenomenal. Just, yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate they are actually casting actors for these. You know, not just like people who look good, you know, in action scenes. That's another thing. I was, you know, there was a while where action movies starred people who just, yeah, look good while punching or jumping, that sort of thing. Yeah, others have already. I think Film Brain covered the pacing issues quite well. Yeah, effects. definitely some of it has to be like, you know, visual effects of some kind. They're always convincing, and whenever they can do it practically, they do. And yeah, this has some of the best stunt work of the, that is, yeah, at this point, it almost feels silly to even say out loud, each of these has at least one sequence that tops what came before. Every movie in this entire franchise. I think that might just about. Yeah, I'm slightly torn on at least one scene of violence. For a couple of reasons that I'm gonna get into in the spoiler-free section. But yeah, I think that covers the spoiler-free stuff. So, yeah. I rate this 8 reckonings that are final out of 10. I do think that I appreciate that they felt the need for one line that justified calling it Final Reckoning. I don't know why they thought we needed 2. Yeah, so the Mission Impossible movies ranked worst to best, keeping in mind, I already mentioned I do love all of these. But yeah, worst to best, 2, 3, 4, 8, 7, 1, 5, and 6. I think if they made 30, maybe they'd eventually top the 6th one, but yeah. Right, so that brings us to the, I'm just gonna go ahead and note there. That brings us to the spoiler section. So from here on out, there will be spoilers for absolutely everything. Yeah, in some of these, sometimes I'll not spoil the very ending until, the end of the video, until I get to it, like, chronologically. That's not necessarily going to be the case here. So, I'm going to trust you that you've watched it, or for some reason, decide you want to keep watching even though you don't care enough to watch the movie unspoiled. Whatever. That's, between you and your entity. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start with a couple of the things where they changed something. So yeah, Gabriel used to be doing what the entity wanted. He was the entity's like golden boy, and now he's an outcast. I thought this was a more interesting dynamic. He was kind of just, I mean, there's something that made him follow, I'm not going to pretend. I watched that movie twice. I'm not going to pretend I fully understand. I guess he's just supposed to be a fanatic, and that's not the most interesting type of, like, central villain. And I appreciate there's still fanatics in this movie, but they're, like, henchmen, The idea that he wants to be the one in charge now of the entity, he wants... Yeah, I thought that made it more interesting. Also because, like, it only really... I don't think I fully thought about it until just recently, just like maybe a week ago or something, but... Boy, do these movies recently like fanatics who want to destroy the world. Like, okay, so the first 3 is basically greed. They don't care what happens to the people they hurt. They want that, dosh. And then someone decided, let's make, I don't know if anybody sat down and thought, but they have now made 5 in a row without any breathing room in between, where it's a fanatic cult leader, kind of, wait, hold on, Was the one in the fifth one? Was he already a cult leader by? No, yeah, he wasn't he? I think so. Yeah, haven't watched that since I guess 2023. Anyway, he certainly became one in the sixth, and then now we have and yeah, yeah, in this right. So they made 4 in a row without where I'm getting into the weeds here. I think they lean too hard on it. That is my stance on it. Even if technically maybe he isn't one in the fifth, and the central villain here isn't here in the eighth. But yeah, the also nice for it to finally be a dude who's scorned and hell hath no fury. Yeah. It's just not a very, it's not very flattering to women, and it's also not even really that accurate. Like, have you ever had a guy just hate your guts? Because it's like, I'm not gonna pretend like I've never had a woman like just despise me, but in my personal experience, it's worse when it's a guy who hates you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. In my experience, they're much more vengeful. Yeah. Let's see. I think that does cover. Yeah. Yes, right. Yeah. So I think it was interesting to make it, make that change, and yeah. So I realize I just said, too many cult leaders in these. I don't. I mean, I've made pretty clear I love the sixth one, so I'm not saying that's like, a major problem in my opinion of that movie. One thing I thought really worked there and works again here, and I don't think they've overdone, is there are followers of this cult, and you don't know, they're hidden, they're stealth. So yeah, I thought that worked really well. I really thought, I'm not even gonna try because I know I'll botch it, but at one point a guy steps out of the meeting with the president and asks a guy in his command or something, who he outranks him for his gun. And I thought that was revealing to the audience, but not the other characters. Oh, that guy's one of the zealots, They're never actually... They don't get a name, do they? I mean... So they're a death cult, and they... They really hate the way things are going, and they're basically like, well, let's just burn it all down and maybe things will be better. But they're not white supremacists, I don't think. No. Antititians, let's go with that. And yeah, turns out no, he wasn't, but he thought there might be one nearby, so he wanted to be ready. That was a good misdirect. And yeah, that one guy in the submarine, yeah, tough luck for Ethan, though. Yeah. I have more to say about the submarine. I'll get to it when I get to it. I think that does cover that. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's like change-wise. That is. I thought. So apparently her name is Paris. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. I like that she speaks like nearly exclusively in French here, and like the others respond in English. She clearly does understand both, and yeah. I could make a joke about, you know, the French, they just want everyone to speak their language kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, so do Americans. So, I, I don't hate the French. I'm not saying they're, like, above reproach, but I find I've talked too much about this in other videos, I think, so I'll just move on. I'll just leave it at, I don't think as many Americans have so much reason to think themselves above the French as they like to think they do. Yeah, yeah, I thought she made a good team member, as does Grace. I mean, she was at least some of the time a team member in the one before. Huh. I just realized they made 2 movies in a row without a real, like, heist. Yeah. I don't know. I guess someone working on these just thought, we've done so many heists. It's just the first 6 have at least one real standout heist. Anyway, I also do kind of appreciate, like, these are 2 movies in a row that are, like, around 3 hours in a movie series that didn't used to go that far above 2. So they made, these last 2 movies as long as 3. Right, I guess I'll just briefly say, I think this is a perfectly good place if they really are, there's... Yeah, there's basically 3 options. They could keep making these the way they have been. I don't really have any... I already mentioned, I'll keep watching them, I'll be there, won't always be opening day, but I'll watch these in theaters as long as at all in my power to do so. Did that make it sound like I'm terminal? I'm not. Anyway, yeah. Let's see. That's one option. Another is that they keep making them, but without Tom Cruise, and I think they've given themselves a great out here. Either he doesn't appear in them at all, or he's like mentor kind of thing. Like, I could see him having a role in at least one upcoming one that, like, Anthony Hopkins had in the second one. Just handing out missions, or Kittredge maybe. Yeah, similar role to Kittredge is what I'm saying. Yeah, I think they've given themselves a good out, because if we don't see him, or if he's just not doing stunts, he's just giving missions, yeah, he's dealing with the entity. I can imagine that's a full-time job, And, let's see. Right. Crap. What was the first thing? No, yeah. The first one of the 3 options was they keep going, no change. The second is they keep going, but without him. And the third option is maybe this is the last Mission Impossible movie, or I don't know, reboot, I guess is an option. I mean, if they feel like they, I think, quit while you're ahead. If you genuinely feel like, because there is a sense of finality to this one, and I can understand if they genuinely just look at it and, like, I mean, what are we gonna do next? We can't really top this one, Yeah, that also, I think, because, like, the thing is, how do you go bigger than this? Like, so 9 countries almost fired nukes at each other. I don't know how you top that, yeah. I think that is what I have to say about the future of the franchise. Certainly, if they make more, I do think Haley Atwell would be solid choice to be the new protagonist. One of the most interesting characters, especially now that they killed Ilsa. Yeah, I know it's been 2 years. I'm still not that was not my favorite decision that movie made. But yeah, she's also one of the best actors here. And that's not denigrating. I think Pom Klementieff is fantastic as well. But yeah, she had multiple emotional scenes, and it really worked. You know, she's bringing Ethan back to life. She's tearfully explaining, you know, you can't, you know, this is not okay, kind of thing. You know, yeah. I think that could be, you know, they could take it in a direction where it is more focused on like drama between characters. And I'm not saying that because she's a woman. I'm saying that because she's incredible actor. It's unreal to me. I actually, yeah. The first thing I saw her in was Pillars of the Earth. Yeah. What is that? 15 years ago. Holy crap. Yeah. And yeah, she's been so freaking good in everything I've seen her in. Yeah. You know, other than these, there's the MCU. Yeah, already mentioned Pillars of the Earth. Yeah, I think that does. But yeah, she was the one I was alluding to in the review. Just really outstanding acting. You know, these were not always ones you went to for like acting as much as like, you know, there's emotionally intense scenes in I guess most of these movies really, but they weren't necessarily ones where that was like the big draw. To be clear, I do appreciate, you know, Tom Cruise definitely can act, but in these it yeah, it is especially, he is especially focused on the stunts, and you know, I don't blame him. I think yeah, others have already noted the whole Ethan Hunt is Jesus thing. Like, if there's one thing, professionally speaking, like other than, yeah, if there's one thing that I would say Tom Cruise really needs to do, professionally speaking, obviously, like, outside of that, you know, yeah, treat like your partner. But I actually don't even know if that's still. I stopped paying attention to his like personal life some years back, but yeah, you know, multiple of his exes have come out. Anyway, and yeah, you know, stop being, you know, a member of a real life cult. But yeah, is that part of what's going on with this and the one before? In general, the ones that are cult leader, like, is that like Tom Cruise playing into it, or like maybe saying, well, at least we don't want to blow up the world like these fictional cults do. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, certainly in Night and Day, he plays with that part of his image where people at the time thought, you know, oh, he's a little out there. Anyway, yes, the professionally, if I were to give him one piece of advice, hi Tom, appreciate your watching. Please get your ego in check. Like this, for some of his movies he does, but this one, wow, like, okay, we get it. I did really like, you know, after like he's been told the whole movie, oh, you know, this is your destiny, this is your, you know, and then at the end it's like, oh, but there's no fate but what we make. And yeah, genuinely beautiful message, you know, at the very end. I really appreciate how many progressive messages are in recent action blockbusters coming out of America. Yeah, let's see. That. Yeah, I thought the start, you know, reintroducing all these characters worked, you know, decently. Yeah, the thing with, you know, yeah, the party. Normally, I'd be like, oh, you're gonna have them be almost caught, and then immediately after they are caught. But they did need something to introduce, Grace in a. Yeah, it's kind of what we anyone who likes the character of Grace, it's something we want to see, and she does way less of the pickpocketing in this. But is it the only time? I think it might actually be the only time in the entire movie where she does, after it was such a major element of her character in the seventh. So, yeah, they kind of needed it in there, Um, and yeah, I appreciate the way they're redeeming her over the course of these two movies. The first one she chooses, when she's posing. Oh hey, no White Widow. Wow. Was she? That's too bad. She was great. I like Vanessa Kirby a lot. Oh, was it like scheduling conflict? Maybe. I guess that's possible since, you know, where she's going. There's room for the fantastic. I just realized I did not yet read. There's some spoilers on the IMDb tree. Oh, there's no. Okay, there's not that. No, there's nothing. I'll just very, very briefly skim. Oh, very cool. Tom Cruise and S.I. Morales did their own stunts. Holy crap. Let's see. And yeah, there's a pilot in the plane, green screen material, suit. So, yeah. Right. And the rabbit's foot makes the, yeah. I definitely do want to talk about that at least some. And, apparently the actor playing Dunlow at first thought it was a joke. Yeah, longest absent character returned to the series since Kittredge. Yeah, beating the. Yeah, Kittredge. Yeah. This is the first one with stock footage flashbacks. That is also you know, most of these have done with little nostalgia bait. Let's see. So I think that might be about what I have to say. Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, Phineas Freak was a callback to Luther's alias. Yeah. Um. Yeah, and I think I will also talk some. I will say Shea Wiggum does look like he could be the son of John Voight. And let's see. Oh, Benji tells Paris she'll be the death of him one day, and then she saves his life in the finale. And that was a trivia entry so nice they entered it twice. Yeah. I guess I will just briefly, since yeah. So I didn't think they needed to justify, you know. Yeah, let's see. I think it was Film Brain maybe who said, oh, it's I guess like it's supposed to make the fans of the show happy. I do still think it was unnecessary to have Jim Phelps turn out to be the central antagonist of the first film. And I haven't watched any of the show, I don't think. But yeah. I did actually. I heard originally, he says, your name is Jim Phelps, same as your dad. They used to call him Jim Jr., but he kept getting called Jumanji instead, so they ended up having him just go without the junior. Yeah, the I think it was fine for him to have an arc about, oh, the he, by the end of the film, we think, oh, he still can't stand Ethan, but no, he trusts him, hands him the gun. I guess maybe it wasn't very popular that Kittredge was revealed to technically be a villain in the seventh, because then in this one they kind of walk that back somewhat. Yeah, that felt like an odd retcon. I mean, I'm happy to see Henry Czerny get work. Maybe they didn't feel like... I mean, I don't know what they'd have him doing if he was like a villain, but he seems to think that he's helping Ethan. When they... no, wait, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. It is a little confusing to me, because he thinks that he's gonna somehow win. He's talking about threatening people that Ethan cares about when the bomb. I'm talking about, we don't have a lot of time, but then there at the end, Ethan just goes with, because like you'd think if he was like accepted as a villain, Shay would turn on him. If he trusts Ethan now, yeah, that is one thing I didn't need them to redo from the sixth one suddenly, because like we spend so much of the movie. I guess she's not like a villain, but like she's morally gray for most of the sixth, and then suddenly the White Widow is just working for the... yeah. Anyway, I think that does... yeah, I thought the whole thing with Don Lowe, like I didn't need them to retcon, because it was just like a joke, the thing about have him, put him in the coldest place you can find. But yeah, it was sweet, and I watched this with my dad, and he confirmed at least some of what Don Lowe's wife said was actual, yeah, their language, which escapes me at the moment, and I'm sorry, I'd look it up, but my wrists are absolutely killing me right now. I mean no disrespect. I've actually had the pleasure to meet some Greenlandic people. Yeah, incredibly warm, giving people. Just unreal. Yeah, let's see. I think the... yeah. So the opening. Yeah. So they show... first, they like the camera pans up Paris, and then it flashes back to some of what happened with her, and then it pans up her again. That, yeah, that felt slightly awkward, and yeah, I don't know. I'm slightly torn on, because like, oh yeah, that is kind of the one time they wear masks, isn't it? Other than metaphorically speaking, but yeah, when the thing. No, I guess it kind of works. Like, at first you're not 100% sure, are these people there to kill Paris or free her? And she's also not 100% sure. No, wait, no, I guess she thinks they are freeing her. But yeah, for who exactly is slightly unclear. And then the masks come off, and yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the thing with, it's difficult to convince Paris to lower the gun. I think that does... yeah, the... we didn't get a lot, but I appreciate we did briefly see, some of these cultists, Antitians, express their opinion. And I think that does bring us to right, when they're captured, and yeah, she wakes him up twice in the movie, again later when she resuscitates him. But yeah, she And he's like, remember, it's only pain, which of course has her worrying. You're gonna lecture me about Lord Xenu now. I thought it was a clever misdirect. He claims to have a cyanide capsule, and that's the kind of thing we know some spies have, and he is. He's shown throughout these. If he's gonna sacrifice someone, it'll be himself, never someone else. And yeah, you know, it wasn't cyanide, but it was something that would make his mouth foam like cyanide would, which there's tons of harmless substances that will do exactly that. And yeah, very, very clever. Because yeah, the thing is, either he's going to get captured with someone else, and that's going to be how he is able to save them, or he's going to get captured by himself, and if the person doesn't think that he's got a cyanide capsule, they're just going to torture him for a while. And I mean, we already know he has a very strong constitution. You know, he is a constitution, in fact. And yeah, like, it's, of course, if you torture someone for long enough, they're gonna say what they think the person wants to hear. It's often not the truth, and that, you don't have to take my word for it. That is something people who actually work in intelligence gathering have said. But it's the fiction of it. If you're a good guy, you're not. If you're strong enough, you won't give anything up under torture. So that's what's going off of. And yeah, if they think he's dying, so they have to resuscitate him, and he uses defibrillators as a weapon, which I don't know. I don't know that I'm ever gonna tire of seeing. Yeah. Then we get to the one scene where I don't know if the violence, like, because there's a couple of things here. I think the fight was too short. I wanted more of a physical fight there, and the rest of the movie made up for it. There were great, one-on-one fights later in the film. But yeah, it looked like, oh, we're gonna get to see him, defeat him, but then we just see Grace's reaction for a while, and we can tell, oh, it must be really brutal based on her reaction. And then he's like, oh, but I mean, he was gonna kill, and I mean, I get it. It just felt weirdly like the seventh movie got some criticism for humor that I forget if I saw others refer to it as MCU humor, but I certainly think that is an adequate way to describe it. Maybe they were trying to, and I do appreciate, this one definitely has less of the, it doesn't feel the need to constantly joke. It has about the same amount of jokes as the others, the ones that are not the seventh movie. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I thought it worked when he's talking to the president, and yeah, Angela Bassett as the president, like, yeah, I'm not an American citizen, and I guess right now I'm probably not going to be, but if Trump were not president, I would consider making America my new home so that I could vote for her. Absolutely awesome. And she did apparently, she said on, I want to say, Colbert, she's not actually intending to, like, run, but, yeah, she's an actor. I don't think we need more actors. In general, like, can we have a moratorium on, like, media personalities becoming president, because I just don't think it's working out for America, much less the rest of the world. Yeah, and the thing with, have him arrested, and she hands him the note, and he goes out there, and, the helicopter takes him there, and I don't know if it's too corny. The thing with, you know, oh, this was actually the day that the first movie premiered. You know, that's the significant date that the, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I hate it. Am I 100% wrong here, or it was the captain who opens that letter and agrees to help him? Was she also on the Acolyte? I'd like to see her in more. You know, it's too bad she didn't have a lot of screen time here. She was great on the Acolyte, which in general there's a lot to love about that show. Um, yeah, I think right, and I'm almost certain that one of the women that the president talks to is the food critic from the menu. Really love seeing her in more, and she may have had at least one more role. I don't think I want to give away. I'll just say she appeared in at least one Marvel thing that I really loved her work in. But yeah, there was this one point where, you know, yeah, I think she was the one who said, you know, Madam President, should I get your son on the line? And, you know, she's like, you know, the president is like, what would I even tell him? I don't know, not to eat at Ralph Fiennes' restaurant. That's a reference to the movie. I'm not saying that I have no idea if he can cook or not. I think that might be about, yeah, the thing with the submarine. I think I'll just briefly say I thought this one did a good job, as some of the others in this franchise have. I'm not the biggest fan of when Michael Bay, you know, you know, before someone said, oh, well, have you even watched? Yes, I have watched. Let's see, I watched from the very start of his career. I'm not sure I watched all of his music videos, but I watched I want to say, wasn't Bad Boys 1 the very first movie? I've definitely watched from his very first movie through The Island, and then I was like, no mas. I am not the biggest fan of when he does the thing of, you know, let's see, it was Lindsay Ellis who said, what else can go wrong about at least one of Michael Bay's movies. I think this franchise does a really solid job with it. Yeah, you know. Okay, so we don't know exactly where, you know, but we can't, you know, we're going to have to fly back in very little time. We haven't actually gotten the coordinates. But yeah, you know, he's like, well, when needs must. It's not like I'm going to get another chance at this, so just jump in. And I really liked the captain. I liked how he keeps calling Ethan Mister. I really loved, you know, like Ethan just comes around and says, okay, here's what I'm planning. And the captain is like, if you're intent on poking the bear, you're in the right place, mister. That was such a great, because like there's just enough. We're sitting there thinking he's gonna say, get off my sub. But no, he's like, well, come aboard then. Why didn't you say so? So again, haven't looked up. But I feel fairly confident saying that's Katie O'Brien as one of the submariners. Well, let's see. I've heard that some Marines. Well, no, wait, no, yeah, I guess it's, yeah, some like military people don't like it when you say submariners because they feel. Wait, is it submariners? Submariners, I guess, because like Namor is, I've heard, called the Submariner, like pronounced like that. I know he's called that in the comics as well. But So apparently submariner, I don't think is accurate, and like apparently annoys some members of the American military. So the submariners in this movie, yeah, Katie M. O'Brien is one of them. I swear I don't only like her because there's back when Cracked was Marky Mark. No, wait, back when Cracked was like the original, team before the resurgence recently. There were two Katies and two O'Briens, and I'm not expecting the Katies to somehow be related because it's the first name. That's not naming convention here in the West, but I'm not trying to exclude anyone. But yeah, but the O'Briens apparently also were not. Dan O'Brien and Jack O'Brien, not related. It tickles me, but that's not what that she's combined the names. It's like a Voltron or something. But I like her because she's so freaking talented. I really, really like her. She's in at least one MCU movie. I've heard she's in one other Marvel thing that I haven't gotten to yet. Yeah. I mean, if you want to like troll me by spoiling, go ahead. And she's in a Star Wars thing. I don't want to give away exactly when she pops up in either Marvel or Star Wars, but yeah, she's so good in both of them. I would like to watch. She did a movie with Kristen Stewart, who I also really, really like. So, yeah. But, I mean, it's not just me. It's not just my affinity for her, right? She's one of the best of the submariners. Like, the whole thing, the little wink, and, like, she's just got this charm to her. This like, she works well as playing something like this. She, slightly, like there's she feels like she could be in the military, and there's that sort of like camaraderie. Like I don't I would probably be surprised if I heard that she played like a completely lovey-dovey character at some point. I'd be up for, if she thinks she can do it, I believe in her. But yeah, I really, really, I thought she did such a great job here. And, saving Ethan, and then she's like, take good care of my suit, which is such a wonderful, like, because, like, he does for a little while. I mean, yeah, let's see. I think that might cover the submarine. Yeah. Benji and the others, Grace and Degas. Yeah, that was a genuinely great, and I appreciate, they get to it pretty quickly, because like the moment I saw Don Lowe's face, I was like, have I seen him before somewhere? Like, I'm not used to seeing him with a beard. Are they saying that nobody shaves down there, or that like they don't have access to shaving? I guess it's because he doesn't have to look presentable. But yeah, it was like briefly we're like, is this are they in the right place, or did they, but then, it's like, oh wow, you're that person from, yeah, that's classified information, who are you, and at that point they kind of do just have to say this, lay it out on the table. But yeah, the Russians got there first. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, we only have the information on these floppy disks, and we don't even have a drive to read them. And it's like, Ethan's gonna need that information, And then he's like, oh, I have the information, I removed it from the disk, and if we can get into position for me to like Morse code this sucker, that's gonna, and he gets the coordinates, the correct ones. He Morses the wrong ones, but purposefully. But yeah, he gets the right ones to Grace. First his wife, and then Grace. That was also great. Grace is like, I can't knock him out, and then the wife is like, I'll do it myself. And that is also, I've never been hit by into it. But yeah, I mean, if something needs doing, they're not really yeah, they take care of what needs doing. Yeah. Right. I don't think Donald Trump realized you really don't want to get too much on their bad side, because they will roast you like just nothing. They have some of the most cutting jokes of like anywhere in the world, which yeah. Um, yes. So the that was such a great, because somebody needs to feed the dogs, and like I'll go with, and yeah, they managed to take out the guy, but he fires the gun. But that actually does also work as like a noise distraction. It's just yeah, it's just like one of those stealth games I love. They're like, what's going on over there? Instead of being like super prepared, it well depends on how you create noise distraction in these stealth games. But anyway, and I like the way Paris's eyes light up when she's able to engage in violence of some kind. Let's see, and yeah, Donlo lying there, morsing away in Margaritaville, and yeah, really, really tense. Right. So yeah, some of the cross cutting that worked really well was the very last bit with the biplanes, and then also the cutting to the bomb being diffused, and the entity and the surgery. They actually managed to top. I did not think well in level of complexity. I wouldn't say that I love the climax here quite as much as the sixth one, but yeah, it does, there are actually slightly more things to be cutting between, not just wires. But I'm so glad that there's no cutting out of the submarine. Once we're there, and it's so claustrophobic, and just, yeah, no words spoken. He doesn't have another character to play off of. It's just him and us in this, like, and the way the water slowly fills up, and the torpedo, like the moment we see them, we know this is gonna be trouble, and yeah, he's like almost crushed, and then one blocks the door, and he has to go through the torpedo tube, and yeah, last we saw, they had just fired a torpedo. Why would they load another torpedo? They think that it's over. Like, to my knowledge, you do not want to have a torpedo in the tube for like a super long time. That's why it's always, when they have these submarine movies, it's always like, ready a torpedo. They don't just like in other military vehicles, they'll just say fire. Like they might say, engaging targeting or something, but with torpedoes, you actually have to put it in the tube. You don't want to just leave it in the tube for forever. And they ready to, from what I recall, again, well, let's see. I think I watched it a half a year after. So yeah, it's been like a year and a half since the last time I watched the seventh one. They readied 2 torpedoes, not knowing if they were going to need 2. And that, again, I believe that is standard SOP. That's not how you say that. Standard operating SOP. And yeah. And he has to cut it out. Full House quote. And then swim through with the icy cold. And, oddly, like on the way as he's swimming, he passes another diver who's like possessing marine life. Yeah, I'm playing Silt. I can't say exactly when I'll be done with it, but, when I am, you'll know, because I'll do a review. Yeah, and him being, the submarine gradually going off the edge. I've played enough Soma to know you don't want to go that far down under the sea. Yeah, I think that might just about cover. Let's see. Yeah, I liked. I think it got tiny bit too jokey. But I don't. I mean, it didn't really kill the momentum. I worried when once I realized, oh, they're doing this. I thought it was going to go on for longer, but the direction, which was also where my dad was like, oh, that's actual, that's their real language. I forget what it's. I mean, he said that it's very reminiscent of Greenlandic, but it wasn't set in Greenland. I don't think. I actually don't remember. Moving on. I'm trying to be better at not making declarative statements that I can't back up. Yeah, I think that does get us to the. Yeah, so they have to get inside the yeah, it's really really solid. I think it might actually slightly top the sixth one. I know, blasphemy, but hear me out. They're all there, and there's a bomb right there, and it's like, oh, these guys, well, let's see. Yeah, first, Gabriel has people pointing guns, and we're sitting there thinking, Ethan's gonna like make him think that I don't really want to do this, but here, have this, but then, you know, um, Shea Wiggum and Kittredge show up and shoot some of the. Oh, yeah, he shoots the Gabriel's men that were there, but then more of Gabriel's men show up and manage to take out. I think the was it sewers or something in the sixth movie. There was a tiny bit too much of like, how could they possibly have known that they should betray them, right? That betrayal felt a little. But here, there's a similar effect, but without the. Yeah, I believe I actually said in my review of that movie, I think there's one twist too many. That was. I might have actually said that in my thoughts video on that, but anyway, or section, whatever, in that video. But yeah, that might cover. Yeah, the entire last bit, I guess I'll just briefly, yeah, I appreciate it. I believe that with Benji telling her where he's injured and what to do, it makes sense. And, he's like, do either of you have medical training? And she's like, I have detailed files on human anatomy. I realize I could have given her the Arnie accent. I did not. But yeah. I mean, if you know what to do, basically, and she's being told, yeah, it just takes precision, which, and a willingness to cut into a human body, both of which she would know as an assassin, She mostly just hurts people. I still think parts of that movie are underrated. Yes, so yeah, the thing with that was also, I appreciate it's the same. Yeah, that is something I will say about this movie. They certainly don't mind doing something very similar to the sixth movie, because the thing about, you have to, in that one is pressing a button. In this one, it's like pulling the the entity out, but yeah. Yeah, if they make more, I think it would be a good idea to either not go for a hat trick or to wait several more movies. I mean, this time there was one movie in between, and that one didn't really have anything quite like. Anyway, yeah. I think that does bring us to. yeah, I thought it worked the way that, very early on, Luther is trapped with one of these devices and talks about, I have to disable the nuke, but I'm not going to be able to prevent it from exploding. And then in the climax, we have a similar thing, but it's someone who's not already dying. Let's see. I think that does... in my opinion, they handled the recurring character death better here. It felt more, also just in part because they damsel in distressed, fridged Ilsa, and then here, no, Luther is actually like, no, 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 you go, I stay. I'm gonna make sure, you don't have to die for this thing. I'll make sure that it only destroys the block. And we were told, the building has been condemned, which doesn't necessarily mean that there's not, a unhoused, person or group of people living there. But, American movies don't really think too much about that. What was it Dan Olsen said? Abandoned doesn't mean empty. Oh, or was that Renegade Cut? It was one of the... I think it was Renegade Cut, actually. Sorry, guys. It's been so long since I watched your videos on that particular movie, which I'm not going to give away exactly here. Anyway, yeah. Let's see. I think that more or less just leaves... Yeah, I thought, if this is the last time that Ethan is in one of these movies, or if it's just the last time he leads the team, that was also, team leader. Calling Benji team leader was a good way to, and then by the end, Grace is kind of the honorary team leader because Benji is dying or sick or something. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, wait, dead or sick is the quote. Yeah. It's been a while since I watched that episode. Yes, yeah, if this is the last time we see Ethan, or if he's not team leader, I think this was a good way to say farewell to him. None of them go up to him. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's possible they think he's radioactive. Maybe he can count the number of times he's visited. Crap. What's it called again? Yeah, I'm going to have to bail on that because I do not remember what that place is called. Yeah, moving on. Let's see. Yeah. The whole biplane thing, I mean, the moment that it was said, oh, I brought 2 planes just in case. I mean, I appreciate that it makes sense and he's trying to outthink the entity. That was also, it was really effective when Ethan sees what, the entity communicates with him and, like, zaps him, I really hope that this movie does not encourage someone to introduce a zapping function to the next time one of us gets, doesn't get every single traffic light in the squares. But did Trump get like an advance copy of this script because they're like, oh, they might nuke America? Is that why he's gonna waste a bunch of taxpayer money on... Am I remembering right? Are they calling it the Golden Dome? Not everything needs to be gold, Donald. But the whole... Yeah, the moment that they say, oh, there's 2 biplanes. Oh, the way that there might be 2 motorcycles, or... just... But yeah, Tom Cruise runs. I'm not tired of seeing it. how did he run so fast that he almost caught up with a car? Anyway, but yeah, the thing with the he manages to just see Gabriel, but it's close. He's close enough that he could say, okay, that's definitely Gabriel. So he's like, Gabriel had a guy with him, and he said he had two planes. So logical. Like his hamster wheels are turning. That's not the what's the I used to know that the mime for hamster wheels turning. Anyway, yeah. So he turns around, spots the guy, and the other guy's like, haha, but, we really showed him. Not only we're flying away, I practically ran him over. But yeah, if you have the grip strength and the, good thing his gloves didn't, malfunction like in the fourth movie. But yeah, and reflexes, yeah, you can technically grab on, because he was right there, he within reach, but yeah, the thing he manages to crawl on and hang on, and yeah, Gabriel realizes, and like, I've seen plane, I've seen aerial chases in movies before. I don't recall seeing one where one of them was like fencing or jousting or whatever you want to call it, using the propeller to like cut up part of the. Because yeah, like, that's the thing, anything that flies and carries the weight of a human being, very sensitive to that kind of, yeah. And then he manages to jump, and they're like fighting, and the whole, like, holy crap. And yeah, he just barely manages to jump onto Gabriel's before part of his falls apart, so it can't fly. And Gabriel tries to fly up high to shake him off, and then the engine dies, which I believe is if you get too high, or if, let's see, is it height or is it, or altitude, whatever, or is it the fact that he was going almost straight up? There's one of those things, because like they're not really made for that kind of maneuver, yeah, and the thing with only one of us has a parachute, I'm gonna be A-okay because I'm 2 weeks away from retirement. Yeah, and 2 inches away from having your face. Yeah. And the I did briefly think that they were actually going to do the annoying trope of, oh, the engine will start, nobody but Ethan can keep this heap running. But no, thankfully, that was not the case. So he does still have to jump. And one of his parachutes does actually burn, but it's one of those that have 2 backup parachute kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think that might cover. Yeah. Really, really. Yeah. I 100% understand if Cruise wants to stop at this point. That is, yeah. Oh, right. I guess I just briefly, yeah. I don't know that it made perfect sense for the rabbit's foot to, yeah. I mean, it really seemed like it was a chemical, biological kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, an answer that doesn't make complete sense, I, at least in this case, think I like better than just no answer. That's just, yeah. At least JJ has warned us now that he loves these mystery boxes, so we can avoid them if we don't want these unanswered mysteries. Yeah, I think that does cover everything I wanted to say. Yeah, just if this is not it, then I hope, Haley Atwell gets some other, franchise that she can be like the star of, protagonist of, because I really do think she deserves it. It's too bad that her MCU stuff was cut short.